Hi guys, so I read 5 books in January and February, so I wanted to talk about them today and then also talk about my March TBR. So I started the year with Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell, which is a thriller about this 13-year-old girl, Ellie, who goes missing. And it's a dual timeline between when she goes missing and present day, and it follows her mom, Laurel. In the present day, they find her remains, and the book is basically unraveling clues about Ellie's disappearance. And I gave it 3 stars. It was okay. There was a plot point that I really didn't like reading about in it, and that definitely gave it a lower rating for me, but the ending ended up being pretty wholesome and cute. And other than that one plot point, I enjoyed it. So it was a 3 stars. It wasn't my favorite thriller, but it was okay. Then I read The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and this was by far my favorite Riley Sager book. It's about this woman named Kit who's a caretaker, and we find out that she was on unpaid leave for 6 months, but we don't know why. And when she's finally allowed to go back to work, her boss assigns her to this woman named Lenora Hope, who lives in this huge mansion like on the cliff of their town and is a town legend because she allegedly killed her parents and her sister. And Kit had heard about her whole life, so she goes and is the caretaker for Lenora Hope, and basically the whole time is trying to figure out if she killed her parents and her sister. So the whole time, as you're introduced to different characters, you're thinking of who could have killed her parents and sister, and there were so many twists the whole time that I did not see coming. This is like my favorite kind of thriller. I gave it 4 stars, which for a thriller is like a really good rating, and I would definitely recommend it. I really liked it. Then I read Wrong Place, Wrong Time by Gillian McAllister, and I also gave that 4 stars, and I loved it. So the book starts out on Halloween where Jen is sitting in her house and she looks outside and sees her son, Todd, stab someone. And then the next day she wakes up and it's the day before, and then she goes to sleep and wakes up and it's the day before. So it's not a Groundhog Day trope, it's a traveling back in time trope, which I really liked. And essentially she's trying to figure out why her son killed that person and is just finding out different secrets about her family and about how to break the time traveling cycle. It was really interesting. I love time travel stories. It wasn't too scary. I really recommend it. It's such a fast-paced read. Then in February I started my Black History Month series. So I read Transcendent Kingdom by Ya Jessie, and I read Homegoing by her, and it was one of my favorite books of all time. So I had really high expectations for this one, and it just did not meet my expectations. I gave it 3 stars. It's about this woman named Gifty who is a PhD student at Stanford studying psychology, and she works in a lab with mice and studies their addiction to Ensure. And the story is about her family immigrating from Ghana to Alabama and just the struggles that they faced as a Black family in Alabama. Also, her mom has really bad depression spells and her brother died of a heroin overdose. So it's a lot about mental health and how the Ghanaian culture treats mental health and how different that is to how the American culture treats mental health. So, it might be someone else's cup of tea if you can relate to it. I did not like it. I liked it, but it wasn't I didn't like it as much as Homegoing. And then I read Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis, and I think I'm going to upload a vlog that's like Black History Month reading vlog where I really explain what I learned in that book. But that book is essentially a bunch of interviews and speeches that she gave. It's basically just a collection of them. And I didn't know much about her going into it. It's really focuses on her speaking about the prison industrial complex, police brutality. And the reason I picked it up was because it was on a lot of reading lists for recommendations to learn about Palestine, but I didn't have as much about Palestine in it that I wanted it to. I would say it was mostly about America and then made some comparisons from Black Americans and the police in America to Palestinians and the IDF, but essentially saying that the IDF has trained the American police force. And it was definitely interesting, and I learned a lot of things, again, that I'm gonna upload in another video. It was pretty repetitive because she talked about a lot about the same thing, so I feel like it's something that you don't need to read front to back. You can just read speeches kind of one at a time while you're reading another book. But if you're interested in learning more about her, learning more about intersectionality. I really liked it. I learned a lot about the prison industrial complex and just ideas that she had that I hadn't really heard before. I didn't read it because it's, you know, nonfiction and just a bunch of her speeches. And then right now I'm reading Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence. And my friend picked this for book club because apparently there's a Rolling Stones song that's inspired by this book. And I think this is about this woman named Connie, and it's in England in like the 1910s. And she's married to this man Clifford who is in a wheelchair, so they can't, I don't know what I can say on YouTube, but they can't sleep together or have kids. And I think it's kind of both of them talking about, like, at the beginning of the book they're happily married, and then kind of where I am now they're starting to dislike each other, and it's about Lady Chatterley's affairs with different men. And this was a really controversial book at the time because it was too sexual, so it was like porn. It was like categorized as porn, and then I think that there were actually trials trying to ban it and like all these things. Honestly, I don't love it. I don't know if I'm like not smart enough for it, but the language is kind of hard to read because it's from 100 years ago and it's not super interesting. I don't hate it, but I just, you know, I'm only reading it because I have to for book club, so I don't think I would recommend it. And then in March, I'm gonna read Giovanni's Room by James Baldwin. I'm so excited to read this because I read Go Tell It on the Mountain by him a couple years ago, and I bought this book in New York at book club. I'm gonna also include this in my Black History Month video and then upload it once I'm done with this, but I feel like this is one of the most famous James Baldwin books, and I definitely want to read a lot more of him. I'm pretty sure this book is about race and sexuality, but I'm kind of trying to read the descriptions and it's not really saying that much. It says it's about an expat living in Paris who is coming to terms with his sexuality and his relationship with a Parisian bartender. So that sounds really interesting. I'm excited to read more of his work. And then after that, I'm gonna try to read A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm only including those two for my March TBR because this is so thick. I think it's gonna take me a really long time to read, and I don't really want to, you know, put that many books in this video. But I read A Court of Thorns and Roses in December, and now it's the ending of February, and I just took a huge break. So I hope I remember what happened. But I heard that the series keeps getting better. I liked A Court of Thorns and Roses, but I wasn't obsessed with it. And then everyone says it just keeps getting better as you go out throughout the series. So I'm excited to read this. And then hopefully I finish this before my trip. I'm going to Bali in April. So I hope I finish that so that I just ordered a Kindle so that I can just take my Kindle to Bali. And then I think in Bali I'm going to read Carrie Soto Is Back because I want something like lighthearted and fun. But yeah, those are all the books that I read in January and February. Let me know if you've read any of these and if you like them and what books you're planning on reading in March. Okay, thanks for watching. Bye!